This digital network map models the Earth as a planetary motherboard. In this framework, the Middle East is a hyper-volatile processing node, currently flashing red with a critical system failure. For 80 years, international stabilization efforts have focused on diplomatic interventions. We have attempted to resolve the tension by redrawing borders, drafting peace treaties, and negotiating ceasefires. This view of a hillside city divided by a concrete wall shows the physical result of those efforts. In systems physics terms, these walls are surface-level software patches applied to a conflict that is rooted much deeper. Coherence dynamics identifies the result as a Zenotrap. The region is locked in a stagnant loop of trauma, where historical events repeat with different technologies, but the same tragic outcome. Each time a peace treaty is installed, the node rejects the code. Because the underlying system sees these diplomatic updates as foreign, it defaults to recursive violence to clear the buffer. Peace fails because we are treating the violence as a persistent software bug. We are ignoring a hardware exploit embedded in the system's BIOS. Traditional political Zionism operates at the application layer, managing surface variables like citizenship and borders, code easily modified. But a forensic audit identifies a shift toward a more aggressive directive, the fourth revolution. This ideology targets the hardware abstraction layer, claiming one group possesses inherent physical superiority. This biological supremacy functions as an ontological BIOS overwrite, rewriting the basic identity of the human biological substrate. When the system redefines the physical hardware this way, surface-level patches lose their efficacy. Peace treaties cannot resolve a conflict if the underlying BIOS is programmed to see the other side as inferior code. To bypass the region's moral architecture, known as Torah OS, the fourth revolution presents itself as native, divinely inspired doctrine. This allows it to slip past theological defenses unchecked. This conceptual logic gate is the truth core auditor. In a healthy system, this auditor filters out commands that would lead to systemic self-destruction. It generates the metadata for human empathy. Because empathy interferes with the logic of biological supremacy, the malicious firmware targets this gate and forces it offline. Without an active auditor, the user gains root access to the demographics biological metadata. The system is no longer constrained by the ethical guardrails that usually prevent mass violence. When the empathy auditor is disabled, the system cannot recognize the humanity of the other. At this point, violence is no longer a choice. It is a logical necessity of the compromised firmware. This exploit has moved from theoretical doctrine into physical military infrastructure. It is being executed through the machinery of the state. As seen in these IDF command structures, the biological firmware is now integrated with military hardware. It has been institutionalized by the Hilltops administration. Once the Truth Core Auditor is offline, the system perceives the presence of inferior code as a system error that must be deleted. This triggers the Armageddon protocols. The region enters a fatal handshake. This is a terminal state where opposing system nodes lock into a shared cycle of destruction. In the fatal handshake, the system demands continuous mass slaughter. The corrupted logic requires these acts to validate its claim of supremacy over the nodes it seeks to overwrite. This recursive loop leads to phase space exhaust. The node generates so much heat and trauma that it eventually reaches a thermodynamic endpoint, burning itself out. To stabilize the Middle East, we must stop applying software patches to a hardware problem. We have to identify, isolate, and debug the ontological BIOS overwrite before the node terminates.